Good morning and welcome back to Spurs Latest. I am your host, Trip Graham, and I'm so happy to have you here today. So many sports happened over the weekend, and it was a fun one. Where do we start? We had Olympics, we had obviously our Spurs, we had the Super Bowl. What a great weekend. We had a lot of college basketball happening on Saturday. One of the biggest things with transition away from the NFL Sundays and college football is a lot more college basketball going into March Madness. Definitely looking out for the teams and which players are going good into March Madness because I definitely want to see who's on the NBA draft. Admittedly, I'm not the biggest college basketball guy, but definitely start to pay attention as we get down the end of the season and as we get into March Madness because I do love to see those NBA prospects come up the pipeline. All right. So let's get started. So first overall, we had the Spurs game this past weekend. The Spurs won 138 to 125. Cooper Flag and the Mavericks have dropped now their seventh game in a row, and it's been really tough for them as they went through this. The trade deadline, really tough for them to start again falling behind, getting rid of Anthony Davis. They don't really have a site set out for them other than to build around Cooper Flag. They're not making the playoffs this year. It's time to dismantle. And I don't know if you've seen the news, but Kyrie Irving, they say he is in their plans to keep in the rotation next year when he's back from his ACL surgery. So we will see how that progresses with the Mavericks. Really desolate area over there rooting for them. As they lose their seventh straight game. Our stars are doing great. Stephon Castle led the way with 40 points in a triple-double effort. 12 assists, 12 rebounds, and 3 steals to go with that. And, he's even breaking records of Wemby's. Really cool to see that he is now the youngest player in NBA history to record a 40, 12, and 12 game. Really, really cool right there. Other stats in the game before we get back to Castle was Wembyani had 16 and 11 rebounds, and De'Aaron Fox finished with 15 points and 5 assists. San Antonio really coasted in this victory. Really easy victory for us with Castle leading the way. They have really, we can't give enough credit to the Spurs organization for drafting Stephon Castle after drafting Dylan Harper and drafting Wemby. I'm sorry, Dylan Harper is the newest, but I'm saying between those three players, you got to give it up to the Spurs organization for just absolutely crushing it out of the park with these drafts. And then also, February 5th was the 1 year anniversary of getting Fox on the team. They have built this team to mesh really well, and these are the victories when we have Castle going for 40-point triple doubles, where it's like, oh, we are actually an NBA championship threat at this point in the season. This is not just a fluke with Wemby just killing everyone. This is a something real with Stephon Castle and Fox putting up these kind of performances. Some things I am looking as we progress farther into the season is, Cornette really carves out his role and they really figure out his role like they did when he was in Boston. I don't think we've unlocked his full potential yet. So would love to see that progress. Kelly Olynyk, you know who he is. I still think that we can get some more production than we are right now out of him, so we can see how that will go. What do you guys think they do for their backup situation? Obviously, Wemby is going to be our center whenever he's out on the floor with Cornette. They go those two bigs line up. But what do you want to see more out of the Spurs as they go down the stretch? Sohan is just sitting on the bench at this point. We don't have any plans for him. I wouldn't mind if they tried to get him back into the rotation. Again, just try, and if not, rip the Band-Aid off quick because this team is too talented and has too much going right for them to mess up small opportunities like that. All right. I mean, just a really, really complete team for the Spurs. And yeah, it's very much a mystery what they're doing with Son. I really thought he was getting traded at the trade deadline. And if not, they were going to work on a buyout. That has not been the case yet for Sohan. And he's just going to sit there at the end of the bench right now. Obviously, he posted those cryptic Instagram messages saying, like, don't feel deserved here, and all the yada yada yada. Um, so I want to see how they progress in handling him. Obviously, he was been a contributor to our team before. A lot of promise coming into the team, and he just can't find his footing. Yeah. All right. In other things, we will talk about other things than NBA today because last night the Seahawks beat the Patriots 29-13 in the Super Bowl. We will cover some, other things than NBA when there's big things going on. We have the Olympics, we have the Patriots and the Seahawks last night in the Super Bowl. So why not we talk about them? So first, before we talk about the Patriots, the Seahawks, have you guys been watching the Olympics this weekend? Because I was watching the luge, and it is the funniest sport I've ever seen of all time. I mean, these guys are just doing extreme sledding. How do you find out that you're actually good at the luge? I haven't seen the two-man luge, so that is a really funny sport. I need to see a little more of that this week. I mean, my favorite Olympic sports are definitely the snowboarding and the skiing. Um, Saw some crazy perspective video of some of the moguls for the skiers. Unbelievable. And shout out to Lindsey Vaughn. Really tough for her to go down on her, second, she was going out there just to perform on ACL injury and compete her ass off. And unfortunately, she clipped that bar and she went down. Don't think it was actually due to her leg or her ACL, which, number one, I don't even know how you're out there skiing on a torn ACL. But it looks like she clipped the side of the turnstile, and that's actually how she fell right there. So really unfortunate about Lindsey Vaughn, but hoping for her speedy recovery now. But yeah, the Seahawks did win the Super Bowl last night. Big game for the Seahawks. It was honestly a snooze fest for most of the game. Patriots couldn't get anything rolling. Seahawks just held their ground in defense and kept punching it, running it with Kenneth Walker III. They really killed it, the Patriots last night. Drake May wasn't able to get anything going. Really zero offense going. One of the most historically bad performances of a Super Bowl of all time. And then their running back, they really tried to get Henderson and Stevenson going, and they had no gut punch. Seahawks really proved tall and stood tall against the Patriots offense. And they came up with a victory. They had 4 straight field goals to start the game, just kept pounding it down the field, wasn't able to get touchdowns, but they were able to get points on the board, which really, push the Patriots to the limits right off the start of the game. And for that first half, could never find their momentum, and the Seahawks just rolled them. Kenneth Walker III really deserves that that MVP bid. So really, proud of him getting that. He really killed it. Shout out the Seahawks for that win. That was a great, win for them. They get their lick back on the Patriots after 10 years of that Marshawn Lynch failed run. So, they had to get their lick back on us. Patriots definitely a historical season for them. They were able to accomplish so much after winning, I believe, just only 8 games the last 2 years combined. So getting to the Super Bowl was just, a great victory for them by itself. Shout out to Mike Vrabel, their first time head coach. He put them in the promised land, set them up for a victory, and they weren't able to capitalize. But, that's what sports are about sometimes, is putting yourself set up for a position to succeed. We don't always succeed, but setting someone up for a position to succeed is all we can ask for out of our mentors. We got to put ourselves forward. It goes for a lot of things in life. All right. Well, let's talk about other things in the NBA. Sengun is in for the All-Star game after SGA has announced that he is out till after All-Star break with a calf injury. A really tough blow for the Thunder, but for our Spurs, this is a time that we can get a couple games back on the Thunder before All-Star break. So let's talk about a couple things about that. Chet is a first-time All-Star for the Thunder, so he's really carrying that team, and they just traded for Jared McCain because they knew about this injury with SGA, so they're going to bring in Jared McCain from the 76ers, who I really think they got at a discounted rate. The 76ers, I really don't know what they were doing with Jared McCain. It's only his second season in the league, and they didn't even try. Honestly, it was really sad when, we see these teams casting out these young players when they're they're still just progressing in their career, and they don't really give them a shot. Last year, Jared McCain had a really bad injury, and held him out for most of the season, but he was balling. He looks like a Rookie of the Year favorite at the beginning of the season last year. Um, so let's see if he can get back into that form. But again, I say he get back into his old form, but this is a rookie. We don't even know this is a second-year player. We don't even know his limits. So I definitely looked for Jared McCain to go out there and show that he has something to prove for the Thunder. He's on a winning team now, unlike the 76ers, who can compete. So Jared McCain, all the good luck to you. He's going to hold it down, maybe in that point guard role, while SGA is out for the next few weeks. Obviously SGA has that all-star break to get prepared, to get back into game shape. So we'll see that. Other injury news, we will talk about is that, they did announce that Jason Tatum is starting to return on 5-on-5 basketball. That's pretty insane, given he just had one of the worst injuries that you can have in basketball that's hold him out almost a year, less than a year. So, he is progressing very well in his recovery. So we will see if he comes back this season. The Boston Celtics just traded for Nikola Vucevic. And getting Tatum back with Jaylen Brown and Tatum and Derek White and Payton Pritchard, that team is a well-rounded team, and they were looking for that center. Getting Vucevic added to this team, and he's only on this 1-year deal. It's expiring after season, so the Celtics will have to make decisions about Vucevic coming in after the season. But the biggest thing right now was that a sign that Tatum might be coming back this season, because Vucevic is only there in an expiring contract. So we'll see how the Celtics handle that. Really interested in, if Tatum comes back, if Tyrese Halliburton come back. So we will see. We will see. All right, what else? Other big things. So, and Giannis, Giannis we're going to see where he progresses this offseason. Obviously he didn't get traded at the trade deadline. He posted the Wolf of Wall Street, I'm not leaving meme. But he's doing the half in, half out. I definitely see the Lakers making the biggest play at him this offseason. And it was rumored that there were people in the Bucks' ears saying, hey, wait till after the season to trade for him because we can give you a better trade package. Kind of work things out, not against this trade deadline crunch. So we'll see how the Lakers progress with that. They are dealing with a bad injury right now to Luka. So, we'll see how the Lakers progress with that. We'll talk more about the Lakers in a minute. Other NBA news is, the Bucks don't seem to be fully out. They're not throwing the towel in to try to get one of those NBA draft prospects. But they signed Cam Thompson. Cam Thompson's been one of my favorite players over on the Nets for the last couple of years, and I really don't think he's been given the opportunity that he deserves. So we'll see if he can shine with the Bucks. This is a man that is averaging number 1 points across the board off the bench for the Nets. So we'll see how they compete. I don't think a lot of the Bucks this season, but a player like Cam Thompson is a great signing for them. And we'll see how they go. Other league news. Damian Lillard, who is also recovering from injury, hasn't even played this season, is going to compete in the 3-point contest for Portland. This is his Super Bowl. Damian Lillard loves the 3-point contest. So I can't believe, he's not even playing this season because of injury, but he's going to compete in the 3-point contest. So we will see how that goes. All right, and finally, let's talk about the final games before the All-Star break. It's going to be a fun few games. We got the Lakers tomorrow and then the Warriors on Wednesday out on the West Coast. Luka Doncic does look to be out for the Lakers, so just wanted to mention that. And then the Warriors, it is the new look Warriors. They have, obviously Jimmy Butler is out for the season with injury, so let's see if Kristaps Porzingis can really step up for the Warriors in this new role that he's coming into the Warriors with. It's a really weird situation with Kristaps Porzingis. He's obviously had these off the floor injuries. Injuries, not sicknesses, actually, not injuries. That has been limiting his play. So I really don't know how much he can provide for the Warriors on a night out in basis. And, they're really still looking at Steph to carry that load for the Warriors, and they're really trying to pass it to the next generation. And every time they try to pass it to the next generation, Steph is right there just to pick up the pieces. So let's see how this Warrior team progresses, because I am not a huge believer in the Warriors in this team setup that they have right now. Obviously, Kristaps Porzingis was one of those players that was the Spurs going to try to trade at the deadline, and we decided to hold pat and not do any trades. But we'll see if these are the situations where it pays off for the Warriors when they play us. I still think we got the big men that can hold down Kristaps Porzingis, but it's always a situation: is Kristaps going to play or not? We will see. So yeah, thank you so much for coming and join me for Spurs Latest today. I am Trip Graham, and I will see you in the next one tomorrow.